So I think we're having talked through some various aspects which are not necessarily common, things like handling tax, perhaps some regulatory issues. Not everybody shares those things. And I think we're kind of coming around a point which is everyone has in common, which is around structure. How do you structure, what may start as maybe a single marketing team? As it grows into different markets, how do you make sure that you have the right people on the ground, but also centrally? What is the best way? And I'm going to ask you, Carly, to talk about maybe some of the social aspects of this, because that's one of the hardest areas. I think it occurs to me to make sure has a degree of integrity and consistency across all global markets, but it has to be authentic for the local market as well. So how have you thought about sort of or the way that you structure the team, or the way that you build processes to make sure that is possible without trying to kind of crush it under the weight of kind of over processing, etc.?
Well, currently we just have a sort of manager for each different country that we have locally. So we've got a Russian manager, a German country manager, a US country manager, and if there's something going on that's just going out to their region, then that would just go out socially to that region. So we'll just localise the updates on Facebook, for instance, to the US audience or to the German audience. But largely we try to maintain the fact that we are a British brand, so everything's quite British and sort of kooky British. So everything will go out to kind of a global audience, so it's there for everyone, because our Nigerian audience and our Australian audience love the fact that we're so British, and they come to us with things because we're British and the quality of the shirts and that side of it. So we do try to maintain that throughout, but obviously if there are regional or national things going on, we will just generate it towards that audience.
So have you set up, what have you done with the setup of Facebook or with Twitter handles and all of that kind of thing in order to represent your international spread?
We do only actually have one Facebook page, so we don't have a TM Lewin US, TM Lewin Germany, because we didn't want to dilute the audience. And that's the same case with our Twitter audience as well.
So that's English language, single page,
But if we wanted to, on Facebook, just send something to the Russian audience, then we can do that with Russian language and just send it directly to the Russian members of that page.
Right, okay, so and that would be a sort of a direct communication rather than a public...
Yeah, so it'll only appear if you are based in Russia.
Oh, okay. So, and it's the reason why you've kept it as one page is to do with the volume of the audience, or to do with the structure of handling different markets, or...
Yeah, we don't have a massive... Because at the minute we're still developing the international site, so we don't really have a need for different languages per site. Different pages per site. But also we don't have a massive volume, a large enough volume of customers and fans to sort of change the pages to different regions at the moment, but that might change, especially with Google Plus. I think that might be something that we do regionalise a bit more.
Why is that?
Just purely because obviously it comes up on your searches, and you can localise it to more localised events and things that are happening in each country, and we'll have the country managers, and also there are different websites, social media sites like Zing, which is more popular in Germany, so we're setting that up, and that's going to be completely in German, because it has more of a German feel. And
so your centralised strategy is starting to fragment a little bit.
Yes, it is starting. It's just in the development stages, though, really, because we're waiting for the websites. The websites will kind of lead the way so that the social networks can be promoted via the websites once they're up and in place.
It's interesting. I mean, you could start... I mean, obviously you have to start off with a centralised thing, because that's where most people start, but you do have to allow yourself to be broken up and to try and manage that process as you go. Tom, where are your thoughts on with regard to social in terms of managing just the technical side of managing the Facebook presence and the Twitter handles through to kind of looking at the local teams as well?
Yeah, I mean, for me, social's one that does need to be very much localised, whereas SEO and PPC could be managed centrally. I think social media is definitely one that does need to be local for the country, and have people on the ground out in country managing the social media for
Does that mean that what they're doing on the ground in the local market is totally independent of what's going on?
No, I would say from a central perspective, we would develop the guidelines, give them the tools to be able to administer the pages.
Right.
So guidelines around what content to post, what things to respond to. But in terms of actually day-to-day running, that would be more for a country to deliver.
So when it came down to something like a content strategy,
yeah.
would you have two content strategies in parallel? So an international one and a local one that kind of slot together, or?
I suppose it's more from a broader perspective. So, you know, Boots' Facebook presences or Twitter presences are about health and beauty. So we don't want to post about, you know, a member of the public dying, or, you know, a celebrity dying. That's not to do with our topic. So it would be at a broader level. These are the types of things. This is what Facebook's for. It's about consumer engagement. YouTube is about how-to videos and educating consumers, whereas Twitter may be more of a customer service tool, sort of a top level, we would say, right? And that's our strategy for that. And then adopting things like how to respond to people. So if someone posts about you know, a negative comment, doing the flow chart of, is it going to add value in responding to this? How should you respond to it? And those type of guidelines. Whereas the content strategy would be more developed by, sorry, not the content strategy, the content plan would be developed by the local market. But then what we would do as a centre is oversee that, so we'd make sure that it's planned 3 months in advance, and that you know, we were ensuring that we're helping them with it, and, you know, essentially having the overall sign off of that.
Okay, that's interesting.
I guess the other thing that plays particularly in your world is that the needs of the customer are very different from one region to another. If you're living in Kuwait, you have a rather different lifestyle, environment, physical environment, as opposed to somebody living in Oslo, and a completely different cultural reference point.
Completely. I mean, even just down to things like selling sun care products in Kuwait, where it's hot all year round. There's you know, there may be a trend to buy that all year round, whereas Norway, where they only get a month of sunshine, then, you know, that's sort of less. You know, the trend would be a lot higher.
Julie, when it comes to B2B, how does that mean that none of this applies, and you can exert a centralised social media strategy, and you can avoid all of the quirks of local, and or is that not the case?
No,
right.
It's, you know, it's out there already. People are blogging. We have business parks as well. So we do, obviously we build offices, major offices. So that's like you and I all sitting here. And a good example was not very long ago. We went onto Twitter and just wrote in. I just went on Twitter and wrote in Oxford Business Park. And a very interesting blog came up about a cleaner who decided they weren't going to work the hours that they should be working on a customer that we are actually billing to fulfil some cleaning for them. And so obviously we can, you know, take that and pick that up. But across, that's just happening in the UK, and we're looking at putting some monitoring to initially to actually see what messages are going on out there, because people are talking about us. But it's more of an education thing in B2B, because as soon as you say social media, everyone just immediately thinks Facebook. And yeah, we're a B2B brand. Why on earth do we want to be really on Facebook? You know, I would sort of question it, but you can't ignore it. But generally, the culture within our industry is, oh no, don't need to think about social media or anything like that. But it's not really, social media is probably the wrong word now. It's just about communication. It's another form of communication, just as much as we go writing all these press releases and we go and put the article appears on in a newspaper. It's exactly the same as it's appearing, and people are blogging and talking about you. So we are really at infancy stage. And within the UK, by putting this tool in place to actually monitor what's being said out there, I'm using it really as ammunition for the rest of the group to actually demonstrate you can't ignore it. We need to put a social media policy in place for the whole of Goodman, but this is a step change and it's an education.
Have you guys thought about the whole phenomenon as a source of market research in intelligence?
Yes.
Insofar as it's not so much about you that we need to be researching, it's your customers and where they're headed and how that will vary dependent on the development stage of the territory in which you're doing business. The needs, of course, would change, I guess.
They would, and I think if I was monitoring all our customers, I think I'd be getting my marketing done, because we have such big blue chip customers, and there's a lot going on, and we're doing a lot across the globe.
So what marketing tactics are you doing, sort of non-social media, that you think you could try and find a way of looking at with social media in an international basis? So what sort of things are you doing in your international marketing plan, bits of PR or maybe conferences or that kind of thing, that you think social media on an international way could support?
We are, well, PR is massive. B2B, any brand's B2B, they focus a lot on PR. PR generation is one of the biggest parts of a B2B budget. In addition to that, we do all kinds of e-newsletters that go out to our third parties, to affiliates that we work with. We're producing white papers as well, and of course you can use social media to sort of get those white papers out there, and SlideShare and things like that you can also do. So there is a lot of activity that will help move it and support it, but as soon as you start talking LinkedIn and all those using that terminology, just almost like the daggers come up, and you're talking social media now, we can't be doing that. So I'm going around the back door actually.
Okay, well there we go. Get the success first and then tell them how you did it.
That's it.
Right, okay.
Well, it's not like saying, this person's blogging about us. We've got to we've got to monitor it, we've got to do something about it. If they're all blogging about us, well, we ought to be blogging as well, and getting out there. It's
well, there are different ways of doing things other than just monitoring Amazon. What we could be doing is monitoring conversations that are taking place in the market on a specific topic.
Yes.
That is driving a particular spike in the sort of business that is being done around the world, in order to understand better what the drivers are that's creating that spike, and using that phenomenon as a piggyback to take the Goodman story to places that it may not necessarily reach.
Yeah, no, I agree on that one. It's finding some of those opinion leaders that are out there. Yes.
What tools are you currently using to monitor the people that you're talking about?
We're about to start.
Oh,
okay. And we're working with Greenlight on that one.
Okay.
Conversation at 11:30. Okay. I'm going to sit in.